your face, but I know you're there, so it's lovely to know that. So I think we can go ahead and get started. I'm about 4 minutes later. I know Phyllis is always on time. She's a teacher, so I know I have to. Gladys Rose would wink at us and say, please start. So I think, Joanna, we're okay to begin?
Please.
All right. So wonderful to be with you. And I dedicate this learning session with you on Thursday to Rhoda Angel. And, you know, the name of the lesson, Angels, Messengers, and Us, semicolon, search for better selves. The name alone I did not force it. In other words, this was not a play, or I was in some sort of a quandary of what to do with the subject matter, and therefore the name alone suggested that that's the way to go. I don't think that would have been a very good literary exercise. But the fact is that I was researching on Code of Holiness, and what does that mean for human beings strive for this absolutely impossible kind of a construct of what does that mean to be kedoshim, to be holy. And the issue of us and messengers and angels came to mind, and it became obvious that it's something I wanted to explore. So let me just say that I will spend probably very little time on taking you, which at one point or another in our class, I would kind of try to help you to walk through the entire, not the entire, but passages from the Torah to see how do we know that beings that are involved in conversation are actually of an angelic nature. And one thing that becomes very clear is that in the Torah, there is an interesting play back and forth, is that you don't always know. Torah actually winks at us. Are you talking to this celestial human, celestial being? There is a, Joanna, there is a feedback, someone's phone, sorry. So if, are you talking to a kind of a celestial being, or are you actually talking about the messenger that has a function? And only through contacts in the Torah can you actually tell the difference. So let me just say that there is argument throughout, and certainly appears to us after the closing of our canon, meaning of a Tanakh. And so we're looking at 2nd century, 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, because it's kind of, it's gradual. But the fact is that is an argument, and that is what constitutes, what is the goal of the human being? Are we, is the goal of our goal to be like God or to be like angels? And what becomes the difference between these two, you know, two kind of a separate camps? So if we look at right there to begin with, in Genesis, and I'm sharing the text with you, when God creates a human being, it is, God said, let us make a man in our image after our likeness. So when you look at the Hebrew, betzalmenu, right, where kidmutenu, you see it, that it is done in a plural. And therefore, it is natural that rabbis will jump in to understand why is this done in a plural, since God is singular. And we have a number of commentators, both from Rambam, from Maimonides, and from others. That is, of course, these are the ministering angels, and they are helping God. But what becomes apparent very much right there in the next text is that when God creates the human being, is that actually he creates in a singular, and the fact is that God creates in its image, right? Betzalmo, that the human being is created in a singular, in the image of God. So we have two, what will evolve, two separate camps of thoughts, and one later on will win over the other. So first of all, Judaism especially after the closing of the Tanakh, is very much influenced by obviously, throughout even before the closure, by the Roman culture, and of course, by philosophers of that age. So who are the philosophers? So for example, Philo, who writes that, what is the goal of the human being if they are created in this, and the goal for this higher purpose and a level, it would be that they will become like angels. And that means they are going to be like philosophers, meaning that they will think through and align their will, their actually this human desire, align very much with kind of a message of God. And therefore, but not like God, but actually they will be like angels, and therefore they will not have necessary a struggle. They will be absolutely perfectly related to the holy, to the holy beings, and therefore angels are like philosophers. Rabbi Akiba, who is absolutely both revolutionary and brilliant, comes to the fore and says, actually, that is not the goal. The goal is to be more like God. And not only because God is on a higher plane than the angel, but the fact is that human beings have choice, just like God has choice. So angels have no choice. Angels do whatever God tells them to do. They do not struggle, but human being struggles with lying, struggles with stealing, struggles with the moral choice of how to be, struggles, what does that mean to live in the world, how to live in a proper sense. That is actually that the goal of the human being is to be like God, but not because you have no moral choices and it's easier because you're aligned. On the contrary, it's because you struggle, right? Because you know, just like God knows, the difference between good and bad. That being holy and being on this other plane that you're trying to reach is actually right here on earth. And the fact is that it is a human struggle of how to be. And we receive of how to behave in our holiness code. It's the way you eat, it's the way you treat the stranger, it's the way you treat people living in your home, it's the way you treat your employees, it's the way you pay your taxes, it is the way you leave your edges of the field for others to come and to collect. Is that the struggle for holiness is not beshamayim here, or meaning it is simple because angels have no will of their own, they're totally aligned with God, but actually this human being that in the minutia of life is where the holiness is found. So I researched a couple of very interesting midrashim, and that I thought commentary that would be it would be fascinating for us to take a look at. Judaism during the second century of Common Era fights, like, and most of the time we do when we try to engage with other cultures and so forth, but it's trying very hard to separate itself from Christianity, as well as various groups that are quite radical at that time. If you know the story of the Essenes, people who went to the Dead Sea Scrolls, who go outside of the normative Judaism, lived in the caves, and there were a number of groups, we'll know only several, but Essenes was one of them, who lived in a totally isolated community. They did not marry. We found that there was something like 3 females in a group. We're not sure what they were doing there, but then there was the rest of the males. The level of prayer, the desire to leave its physicality and try to kind of jump up into this heavenly heights, hoping that would actually take place. Judaism will walk away from it with a great desire that normative Judaism, rabbinic Judaism, is to live within the world we have and struggle with what is around us. So these are the moments of very important separations. So let me just share with you on your screen one of my, and Phyllis, if I remember correctly, you brought this midrash, and Michael, Rabbi Strassfeld, who Rabbi Levitt's husband, who brought this midrash to us. So first of all, let me get back to, just 1 second, as I described creation of the human being. And this is a tremendously important mythological story. And the fact is that the rabbis will play with it. And I love their imagination and a play. And that creation of the human being, the kind of the angelic camp. So let's say, yes, they're part of the story. And the holy struggle for creation. So the story is the following, is that actually creating of the human being was not received as a great idea, okay? And the fact that angels didn't think this was a wonderful thing at all whatsoever. So what Midrash does, the way commentary works is... Sorry, can you hear me? I can see there's, no, sorry about that. What about now? We had to unmute somebody. How are we, am I doing okay? Can I start? Thank you. So the fact is that we have an argument in Heavenly Heights. You know, angels are not so thrilled about there is a separation between them should the human beings be created. So they're divided in a couple of camps. Each angel, and now what is so delicious is the fact that angels are now represented with fabulous names. And what are they? There is love, there is angel by the name truth, there is angel by the name righteousness, and angel by the name peace. Okay, so this is what rabbis do with it. Remember, they will use tradition to push their polemic, their story, because it makes it there's after something. So let's take a look. Rabbi Simon said, I assume everyone has it on their screen, right? And this is from Legend of the Jews, a fabulous book. I have it both in Hebrew and in English by Bialik and by Ravnitsky. It's my always go-to. These are midrashim that they pull out thematically, starting from the creation all the way to the also ethics and behavior and so forth. So, you know, it's a terrific anthology. Rabbi Simon said, when the Holy One was about to create Adam, the ministering angels formed themselves into groups and companies, some of them saying, let him be created, while others urge, let him not be created. Thus it is written, love and truth fought together, righteousness and peace combated each other. Where they get this idea, where the rabbis, the writer of the Midrash works from, he works from Psalm 85:11. So it's a very, very beautiful, useful, you know, useful verse. Love said, so they named angels by these names. Love said, let him be created because he will perform acts of love. Isn't it beautiful? Truth said, let him not be created because all of him will be falsehood. Angel by the name righteousness said, let him be created because he will do righteous deeds. Let him righteous deeds. Peace angel said, let him not be created because he will be all strife. Okay, so what do we have? We have four, 2 and 2. Everyone with me? So you are going to have a tie, right? One camp says yes, 2 says yes, and 2 say no. So what happens? What did the Holy One do? I love this. He took truth and cast it to the ground, as it is said, though did cast down truth to the ground. And they find this pasuk, they find this verse in Daniel 8:12. It's naturally, what is the truth? Why is the truth thrown to the ground? My mother used to say that if you want to, and with the wink, if you want to have wonderful relationships in life, make sure that the truth is held under a very, very, very firm girdle, because none of us can be x-rayed and survived. Our relationships are always managed on how much you need to say and how much maybe you should say either less or not. So truth is a fabulous entity that is getting jeopardized here, right? So rabbis could have thrown peace onto the ground. They could have thrown falsehood. No, it's truth that goes. And of course, they find it in Daniel just what they need. So what does Minister Hasharesh, what do they say? Malachesh Hasharet, what do they say? The ministering angels dared say to the Holy One, Master of the universe, why do you humiliate your seal? And they're beautifully using Psalm 85, but they only pull out few verses upon their need. And what does the God assess to them? You know, man is already made. I did it. God likes human being. And it is, as Elie Wiesel said, why does God created human beings? He takes it from Hasidic masters. He said it's because they're full of stories, and God wants stories. He wants us to weave interesting life. So right there, you see that there is an adversary relationship between the human camp and actually the angels camp. All right. So there are going to be in a very tense relationship. So things get even more interesting in the Midrash I want to share with you. And it's Midrash, you know, it begins with, begins on the bottom. Rabbi Joshua ben Levi taught. And when Moses went up on high, the ministering angel dared say to Holy One. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to the next share screen. Oh, let me close this one. Okay. And what did I do now? No, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. You're with me on 82, right? Thank you. Thank you. So where we are, first of all, forgive me, where we are in the text. We are right in this very fascinating moment of the downstairs at the bottom of the mountain. There is a huge party going on that Moses is not invited to be part of. What is it? It's a golden calf. People are lost it, Aaron helping them out, they are dancing and so forth. But where is the Moses? Moses is communing with God. There is the love affair between Moses and God is something one would write pages and pages on. And as I said in my earlier teaching, that in some ways, Moses loves his people more than he loves God. And I think that's what God loves about Moses. It's actually kind of, you know, as a therapist, it would be an interesting thing to explore a bit. But so where are we? So give me 1 second. We are, so yes. So when Moses went up on high, the ministering angel dared to say to Holy One, Master of the universe, what business does one born of a woman have in our midst? Okay, now you're wondering what's going on. What they're going to be arguing about, ministering angels will be arguing about, is that, dear God, why are you giving Torah to the human being, to a creature that is born of a woman, meaning it's carnal, it's made out of flesh and blood, when you actually have held your Torah for hundreds of generations up in the heavenly skies, and now you're going to give it to human beings? Look at them. All you have to do is look down there what they're up to. They don't deserve your gift, okay? So things get more interesting. I will be skipping as I'm reading. By the way, can you see on your screen what I photocopied? I hope that, please wave to me if you do. Just one. Only thank you.
Rabbi Tina, it's quite small. Is there any way that like you can, you know, sort of enlarge, you know, so we folk to be able to see the text? Like if you enlarge the screen.
Oh, large. Where's my enlargement of this?
Do you see that you have a plus and minus on the bottom? So I think you can click the plus and it will make it bigger for us.
I have plus and minus on the bottom. Which bottom?
Right below the text.
Below the text, I have plus and minus. I have mute, stop video.
On top of that, literally, it looks to me like it's literally right below the text.
Oh. Did you get it? Whoa,
yeah, so that's better. Can you keep going?
Yeah. Wait.
Well done.
Wait, I'm going to do it very carefully so I don't lose it. Okay, sorry, am I making you dizzy? Is it better?
It's better when it's bigger, yes.
Is it bigger?
Now it's a bit bigger. No, it was better before.
All right, okay. Oh.
Okay.
Is it too big? Joanna, is it too big?
I think that's great. Like if we can just
because in my so I will be reading from a different source, but the same. But can you see it? Everyone,
The margins are now a little cut off.
okay. Oy. So hold on. I'm gonna
Maybe
try-
go one smaller. Try to go one bigger.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. Did
Okay, stop there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not
And
touching.
then you can just scroll from left to right to show us each column.
Okay, thank goodness it's in one column. It's a lot of text, so it's only on. Sorry, I apologize, everybody. It's the best I can do. Okay, I better stop. Can you see it?
Yes, we're good now.
Okay, fine. So what happens is that, so ministering angels say to him, they argue, this precious thing which has been stored with you for 974 generations before the world was created. You know, anytime rabbis spend that much ink on a subject matter, you know they're working very, very hard, okay? You're about to give to mere flesh and blood. So they're talking about is Torah, okay? Oh, Lord our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Let your majesty continue to be celebrated above the heavens. What is man that you should be mindful of him, and the Son of Man you should link to him? They quoting Psalm 8:2 and verse 8:5. Then the Holy One said to Moses, let you be the one to reply to the ministering angels. Moses spoke right up. Okay, so first of all, fascinating is that God does not reply to the ministering angels. There is this beautiful relationship between Moses and God. They're having this very, very intimate connection. And then someone opens the door, ministering angels, and there they are in the middle of this conversation. So God says to Moses, you go ahead and answer them. So Moses naturally is a little bit concerned. It says, Master of the universe, I fear that they will consume me with the fiery breath of their mouth. God said, take hold of my throne, of my glory, and reply to them. Moses spoke up again. The Torah you are about to give me, what is written in it? Okay, so Moses asking God. Well, it says, I'm the Lord your God that brought you out of land of Egypt. So this is direct quote from Exodus 20. Then turning to the angels, he asked, meaning Moses asked from angels, did you go down to Egypt? Were you enslaved to Pharaoh? What need have you for the Torah? What else is written in it? God replies, you shall have no gods than other worship. Okay, we have this direct verse from Exodus 20. Do you live among the nations who worship idols? What else is written in it? You shall not take the name of God in vain. Exodus 27. Are there business dealing among you that might lead to swearing a false oath? What else is written in it? Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Do you do the kind of work that requires you to rest? What else is written in it? Honor your father and your mother. Do you have a father and a mother? Moses asked of angels. What else is written in it? You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Is there rivalry among you? Is there impulse to evil within you? So what Moses is doing is he goes from one pasuk, from one verse to another verse. He is arguing brilliantly in front of the angels. The fact is, you don't struggle. This is written for us because it is difficult to live a moral and ethical life. You have no will of your own. You do things perfectly. We're the ones who would need the text and need Torah. It belongs with us. And thus the angels conceded to the Holy One, for the psalm ends, they said once more, oh Lord, our Lord, how glorious is your name in all the earth. And what happens afterwards is they're so taken by Moses from being very adversary, they're actually giving him various gifts, and it's very sweet. if you think about what is the purpose of this text, what is the purpose for rabbis to create and write this kind of a semi-mini sermon or a teaching, to be able to recite some of the most important elements of Judaism, of what it means to be a human being here on earth, summarize it in a very, very elaborate and yet humorous of an argument between God is a player in this mini, kind of a mini sitcom. There is Moses involved, and there is a group of angels who say, no. Keep Torah for us. Keep this for us. And of course, the response is, what is it doing here for those of us who live a life of that is complicated and messy, to say the least. So I have one more midrash to share with you that I felt was fascinating. Forgive me as well. Let me see if I can. It's 59. Okay. Now let me see. Oh, is it too much or it's okay? How am I doing? Joanna, can you see it?
I forget that I'm so good at this that I mute myself too. Yes, we're good. Thank you.
Can people see it? Can we gauge this? I can't seem to move it. Sorry. Okay. So the Midrash 59 works with the same verse. Go down. Go down, Moses, meaning not go down to your people, meaning this is the same, the scene is the same, okay? And Moses receives the tablets, and he's about to go down, and he receives the Torah. He's going to go down to the Torah. So again, we are going to have an argument between ministering angels and the human being. So according to Rabbi Isaac, when the Holy One said to Moses, go down, Moses' face grew dark. In the greatness of his distress, he became as one blind and so did not know which way to go. The ministering angel saying, this is the time to slay him. We're indeed about to slay him. But the Holy One was aware of what they planned. And what did he do? What did the Holy One do? It is said in the name of Rabbi Abba Bar Aibo that the Holy One opened a wicket door under his throne of glory and said, go through that entrance, go thee down. So imagine this kind of a vision of what rabbis playing with in their head is that first of all, why angels are so angry with Moses, and yet they are, because Moses received something precious. So there is a tension, and the fact that they are so angry with him that they're ready to kill him. So God lifts its robe, imagination quite vibrant, and allow through this little door for Moses to take the tablets and leave unharmed and go down to people with whom then he will struggle. So what I appreciate that there is another midrash which I did not copy it for you, but it gets even more elaborate by the virtue is that ministering angels were so angry with Moses and they were such danger to him up in the mountain that God changed his face to look like Abraham. So they would not recognize him. Why? Because when they were about to approach Abraham to hurt him, they had to stop because they said, oh my goodness, this is the man that took care of us when we came to him in the tent. Remember, Abraham sees the three men approaching. They're not called angels at all. They are just anashim. They are approaching closer. He's after circumcision. He's exhausted. And he's in pain. He sees the strangers. He runs to greet them and brings them. And then they give a prophecy that Sarah, of course, will become a mother and the Jewish future will be assured. But we only know that afterwards about who they are and from the Sodom and Gomorrah and so forth. And we know their identity. And therefore, because they were so kind, that Abraham was so kind to them, they will not touch him. But this was actually Moses. So in this rabbinic, I call it audacity of being able to take the text and fool around with it and bring the lessons that are so important to the front, is where rabbinic imagination faces what is the human goal. What are we here for? What are the most precious of values that we have? And they do it in a very playful and daring way. According to Rabbi Akiba, and the view that wins out, human being is actually higher than the angels. Why? Is that the human beings, our effort, live a moral life, is one that deserves a place of holy. That in that struggle, we actually, not like angels, we actually are meant to be like God, because we know from right to wrong. And that having to choose is what is difficult and yet incredibly divine, right? And with that, I would like to read the poem that Phyllis, you often, I'm going to close this for a second. I didn't photocopy this, but it's the poem. Just one moment. I can see. I'm going to go back to the screen so I can see your beautiful faces. Give me just 1 second. Wait. I did it. A screen sharing has stopped if the shared window is closed. Okay, mazel tov, just a minute. Oh, now you know what happens after a while using. This is like, now I feel like I can kiss every one of you. Wanting to be in a classroom with you, but that's all I have. But now I'm like, you work. So Phyllis, you read this on page 265. Oh, not every Shabbos, but often enough. And I know, and I listen because it's like a lullaby to me in the morning. Maybe I should say awaken song. When you read, who are the holy beings? And this is a poem by one of the, hold on, I looked it up. Give me one second. Weinberg. It's by Sheila Weinberg. Who are the holy beings? Okay. They are beloved, clear of mind and courageous. Their will and God's are one, raising their voices in constant gratitude. They marvel at every detail of life, granting each other loving permission to be exactly who they are. When we listen for their sweet voices, we can hear the echo within our own soul. You read this almost every Shabbos to me and to the rest of the community. Who are the holy beings? Maybe our will and God's will is not one. Sometimes and often it's other. But what makes us holy is our ability, our moral struggle, our life in the world that we come to from a mother, from a woman. When the angel said, for born of a woman, you're going to give him our holy Torah? The answer is yes. I studied this with my son, who was, he's been gifted, unlike actually his mother, much more from his father, clarity, which I admire. Before I gotten anywhere with the text, he said, or halfway through, he said, of course angels don't need Torah. He says they've got it clear. We do. We need Torah here. But the place of a Torah, who do we ever rise when it enters the room? Anymore, not even we should. For people who are elderly, growing up in the Kiev's bus, you would get shamed, literally shamed, if you did not get up for an elderly person. You had to. You could have been, no matter how tired you were, someone would have lushed into you and say, the elderly is here, you should get up. You have strong young legs, but this person has gray in their hair. You should be able to give them a place. I do not necessarily think that the social control is necessarily a very positive thing, but I do want to say that in a Jewish tradition, you rise in front of the Torah, great Torah scholar, or when the teacher, we were raised when teacher walked into the room, you actually got up. No one laid on a table or had their feet on. That came to us from when I remember first time in American high school, when I saw that, I said, no wonder nobody knows anything, such an educated nation. Why? When the teacher walks in and you've got feet on the table in your casual kind of a Western piff puff manner, how can you learn? How can you learn? You can't learn, right? So there is something about having something among us, or when the ark is open, not even taken out, you rise. There is something that came to us and we're given birth to us as people, and we gave birth to its life and its vibrancy, is what told us and has held us for years. And the play with which rabbis appreciate the text and their conversation, where even God says, what are you having for Torah, which I love. what did you write in there? Well, you should respect mother and father. There it is. Now you know. Yes, angels don't have to worry about that. You have no mothers and fathers, but in your Torah, you said you must honor it. And with that, I would like to say that your mother, Rhoda Angel, was honored and respected. And after the grave, attention is turned to the mourner. If we were at the cemetery, we would have formed 2 rows